This is the beginning of the course selection process, and so I wanted to make sure I took time to meet with all the students who are going to be back here next year, so that you know what goes into it. And I'm not using a microphone, so those of you in the back, if you can't hear me at some point, just raise your hand and I'll speak up, okay? Now, how's the volume now? Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, thanks. Now, I don't know what you've heard, but I'm not a mean guy. You heard something different? Don't tell me. But I want to tell you that as part of my job, there are times when I have to say no to people. And I want you to know, especially regarding the course selection process, that there are reasons why I say no. And it's not just because I feel like it or it's fun for me. You need to understand when I say no to changing course selections later in the process, that I'm not being mean. And there are times when there are legitimate reasons for a student changing their courses. There could be clerical errors that happen, issues with prerequisites, class cancellations, etc. But these are the exceptions, not the rule. So I can't accept course changes just on a whim or just because you changed your mind. And I want to illustrate my point with a story. Do you have time for a story? Are you busy? Are you doing anything? You good? All right, sit back. This is a little story about a banquet or a wedding or maybe even a prom that you're going to later on. And a lot of times when you go to these events, you have to place your order for food weeks or even months in advance. And you might have three choices in for the banquet or the wedding. You can choose chicken, steak, or fish. Now, this is not for dinner tonight. It's for an event months from now, okay? So if I were to say to you, you have a wedding coming up and you can choose chicken, steak, or fish, which one would you choose? Steak. Chicken. Which one would you choose? Steak. What would you choose? Chicken. Do we have anybody who wants the fish? A few people who want fish. So what happens is you send the card in, or maybe you do it electronically these days, and the kitchen makes all kinds of preparations to make sure that there's enough quantity of each of those chicken, steak, and fish. So the day finally arrives, and the party starts, and you get to see all your friends and relatives, and the salad is served, and people are sitting down eating their salad, but some people are up dancing, enjoying themselves already. And then the DJ asks everyone to return to their seats so they can start serving the main course. So those of you who ordered the chicken, who was it here who said they ordered the chicken? So Annie decided that she just saw a big juicy steak go by, and she said, no, wait a minute. I think I changed my mind. I'm going to get the steak instead. And that's all right, because the kitchen has decided that, you know, they made a few extras of each one. So they're prepared for one or two people changing their mind a little bit. But then somebody over there did the same thing. They were going to get the fish, and they decided that when the aroma of that steak passed by, it just looked so good. It had some mashed potatoes on the sides, delicious looking green beans, sauteed and garlic and onions, and it just felt like that's really what they wanted, so they changed to it. So everybody at that table decided, oh, that steak looks really good. I'm going to get that. And pretty soon, the servers, there's beads of sweat on their foreheads, and they're starting to get a little nervous because they know if they go back to the kitchen and tell the chefs that all these orders are changing, the chefs are going to get a little, because they're a little temperamental, those chefs back there. I don't know if you heard about that. And kitchens are hot places, hot, noisy places, and they're under a lot of stress. There's all these people who want their food, and they want it fast. And so all of a sudden, all these orders are changing, and more people are ordering the steak. Nobody's taking the fish. Mostly we're okay with the chicken, but people are changing their mind there. And the kitchen has just spent all these hours preparing the banquet, making sure that everybody got the food that they need. And so the chefs are yelling at each other in different languages, and you don't want to know what they're saying to each other. And the thing is, you don't want to get chefs mad because they have knives. Be careful. Just be careful what you say to them. So it's chaos, and the people out front, the guests who were having a good time, there was that table over there, they were the ones out there leading the dancing, and now they're upset because they don't have any food, and everybody's angry and upset because there's no steak left, there's too much fish, and there's chaos everywhere, nobody's happy. So the reason I tell you this story is because it's the same thing with course requests. So I have to get serious for a minute, and As we go through the course selection process, you'll begin to meet with your guidance counselor, and we will assign teachers based on your course request, and we'll begin to form classes. So if 20 students sign up for a course, I'll just have one section of that course. But if 70 students sign up for a course, I'll have 3 sections. And so it goes with the hundreds of courses. We literally have hundreds of courses here at Mount St. Joseph Academy. So you can see that it's a complicated process, and that's how the master schedule gets built. And it begins with student requests. That's always my top priority, is making sure students get as many of their first requests as possible. Now, it's never 100%. There's always going to be some conflicts. And there are other factors: teacher schedules, room availability, just the amount of time in a day is a factor. But the number one priority is always student requests. So that's why it's not unreasonable for me to say no when students try to change their course requests. You're one person. Imagine if the 500 students here at the school all did the same thing, even just with one course request, let alone more than that. So to allow these kinds of changes would cause overcrowding in some classes and imbalances in others. So I hope this story gives you an inside look of how the master schedule gets built. And to put it another way, we don't want to run out of steak and have the fish rotting in the back room. So you are part of the process. You're the most important part of the process. And I want you to understand why we make the decisions we do. But again, the first priority is always to try to allow students to get the courses that they request. Okay? All right. So, with that, we can talk about the course selection process. And this presentation is for both rising juniors and seniors. So there will be some things that apply to you and some things that don't. So, I'll point that out as we go along. But as with all things here at the school, we start with the mission. And since I'm the academic team, I like to focus on the parts of the mission that have to do with academics. And we want you to realize the fullest potential, and we are trying to foster excellence in you, tempered by gentleness and compassion. First of all, gentleness with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't push yourself beyond your limit. Challenge yourself, but don't go beyond your limits. Be kind to yourself. This is an academically rigorous school. Academic rigor looks different for you than it does for another person. So you need to challenge yourself in courses that fit for you. And we are educating founders, not just leaders, but founders. And a big difference between a leader and a founder is one who's creative, innovative, and is an entrepreneur. And you are agents of transformation, and of course you're familiar with the sentence, on the education of women largely depends the future of society. Now, I don't know if you've ever had any grammar courses. They say that it's not a good idea to begin a sentence with a prepositional phrase like on the education of women. So to turn that sentence around, it is the future of society largely depends on the education of women. So the future of society depends on us making sure that we challenge you. We turn the grammar on its head because as an all-girls school, our emphasis is on educating women. So that's why that sentence makes sense 4 minutes in. So, with the mission in mind, it's time to look at the big picture and set goals for your remaining years. So these goals on the screen are in order of importance. Your spiritual and emotional well-being is our first priority. Set realistic goals that you can reach. Our graduation requirements are geared to what most colleges expect. Take classes that suit your ability. Remember that all of our classes are college preparatory. So we don't have academic level courses for students who are not planning on going into college. We really start at the second floor with college prep courses. And then if you're doing well in those college prep courses, you're doing better than fun. Colleges want to see a progression no matter what level course you're in. If you got a B+ in Algebra 1, an A- in geometry, and an A in Algebra 2, that tells a story to the colleges, and they want to see that you've challenged yourself and made a progression. The race is long, but in the end, the race is against yourself. So push yourself to be the best student you can and the best person that you can be, and keep that in mind as you're selecting your courses. So this is what a typical junior roster looks like. And we'll be going through each subject one at a time, but theology and English, everyone is required to take 4 credits of during your time here. Social studies, math, science, and foreign language, you need 3 credits by the time you graduate, and then there are electives, a fine arts credit, and like I said, we'll be going into more detail on all of those. If you were to take a second course in a subject, it's something that you like and are strong in. Now I'm just going to go breeze past this screen quickly because, as I said, I'll have the current juniors in here, but it's good for you to see there is no typical senior roster. Really, by senior year, you've finished most of your core requirements other than theology and English, so it's good for you to see this for planning ahead for next year. So we will continue to have the online course registration process. I believe I showed you the video last year about how to do online course selection, so I'm not going to do that again, but you do it through PowerSchool, and there's a link that says course registration, and then you'll be able to sign up for the courses. That course registration will begin next week, at the end of next week, and continue through the end of March, and we will start with current juniors. And it's not because we like them better, it's because they only have 1 more year, so they get first choice, just like you will have that when you're juniors moving into senior year. So, as you'll see in this presentation, we have a lot of new courses that we're offering next year, so I have to put all those courses in PowerSchool before they're ready, so we will be ready by the end of next week to start scheduling the current juniors and then move on to you. When you sit down with your counselor, you'll select your courses, they'll give you a registration form, and then there's a fee that is due in the studies office by March 29th. You will also have, we used to have separate AP and GYM forms, but now we're putting on the back of the registration form, and you can use the program of study to make course decisions. That program of study will be available online shortly. We don't print out hard copy for the students anymore. We do have some hard copy, but you'll be able to download it. If you go to the academic section of the Mounts website now, you'll see the 1819 program of study, and then 1920 will be up shortly within the next couple of days. So what you want to do is, as you make your decisions, talk it over with your parents, discuss options with your teachers. Your teachers know you best and can give you a sense of where you should be in that subject for next year. So I wanted to give you an overview of the curriculum changes for 2019 and 20 because there are some big ones, and this is just a quick overview, and then we'll be going into it. And for the first time in a long time, we have changed our graduation requirements in one of the major subjects, and that's social studies, and I'll be going into some detail on that. You still have 3 graduation requirement, 3 credits for a graduation requirement, but we're going to change it up a little bit, and we'll go into that in a little more detail. For AP courses, we have some new AP courses, AP World History, a different kind of AP Physics, and we're also trying to shift the timetable a little bit on AP courses, because what we have found is that seniors tend to take a lot of AP courses, and then they're applying for colleges in the first semester of senior year, and there's a lot of stress associated with that. So we're going to try to make some of the AP courses available earlier in your career here, including junior year. Traditionally, juniors can take AP US History, but not many other AP courses. So we're going to move that forward, and you'll learn about that as we go through the presentation, and make it possible for those of you who qualify for AP courses and need that level of challenge, that there will be more available to you. We're also going to have some online courses, 2 for next year. One will be for the incoming freshmen in the class of 23, so that doesn't apply to you, but they'll be taking a guidance course online. And then we are going to have a Java programming course available online that you do on your own. This is totally monitoring it through Canvas, but you won't have a class meeting time. With the idea that, as you get older and move through college and beyond, you'll be taking more and more online classes. So we're going to give you the opportunity to learn how to do that now. The senior capstone is an expansion of what we have been doing, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but it includes Women as Founders and Mount Milestones, and we're going to continue to evolve as a school with the idea that eventually every student will do an independent study project on their own as a culminating activity for, you've gone to school for 12 years, or from kindergarten to preschool, and so you know what you like, so you get to study a subject in more depth. And then we always have new electives each year, so there's some exciting electives in the various departments, and I'll be going through those. So, you ready for all that? All right. So, you have room for 2 electives as you go through your courses, and seniors have more options depending on the first 3 years, but really it should be about what your strengths are. And many people think that if they want to be a scientist, they should take more science courses, and that's true, but you should also take a look at your creative side. Look seriously at the fine arts. Creativity comes from a broad education and pursuing many different interests, so make sure that you pursue the subject that you're strong at and challenge yourself in areas that you may not feel like you're as strong at. So, the Senior Capstone Project. Women as Founders is really our flagship product there, and it's been running for the past few years, and it's very successful. And you remember Women as Founders Week in December, right? It's become an important part of our culture at the Mount. And Women as Founders is known as a seminar course. That's where different teachers come in and you meet before school a couple times a week and then develop your own project. So we're going to continue that. The big difference is that it will run just during senior year. So the current juniors will be able to sign up for that. And for a while there, it was running second semester junior year and then first semester senior year. So this year we had 2 sections, and this has been a transition year. So from here on out, it will be offered just in senior year. And then we'll shift the Women as Founders Week to May. So this year we'll have a smaller version of that in May, and you'll see students both in Women as Founders and the Mount Milestone class presenting projects. So next year, we will continue Mount Milestone as a pilot program of 10 students, and this will be an opportunity for you to do something that interests you and delve into it in more detail. This new freshman rotation course doesn't apply to you, but I wanted you to know about it just so you know how we're expanding the capstone program. So next year's freshmen, when they come in, part of their rotation, since Guidance 1 will be online, will be creating innovative founders courses. So the idea is for them to figure out how to get creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship incorporated into all their subjects and get started freshman year thinking about that senior capstone program. So we'll be expanding that as the years go on too. But as I said, of course, it doesn't apply to you because you'll be juniors next year. So I want you to know about that. So, we're going to go through the courses, the subjects one at a time, and as juniors next year, you'll be taking the Christian Morality course, and when you become seniors, you'll select 2 half-credit courses from that list. So I won't spend a whole lot of time on that right now, since you'll be taking Christian Morality. Juniors take British Literature, either the college prep course or the honors course. If you are in college prep English now and would like to move up into honors, there's a time test given in April, and you can check with your current English teacher about how to sign up for that. Also, journalism is available for electives for juniors. And again, this is for next year's seniors, and they choose a half-credit course, or 2 half-credit courses for AP English Literature. But it's not a bad idea for you to see that so you can plan ahead. For social studies, this is the one I said that we were having big changes in, and we are still requiring 3 credits of social studies, but as of the 18-19 school year, it was 1 credit of world history and then 2 credits of U.S. history. Now it's still 1 credit of world history, at least 1 credit of U.S. history, but then your third course can be in history, government, or geography. So the history could be world history, European history. We are introducing human geography courses, the idea is that our world history course was really more of a Western civilization course. And the United States has been a world power since the beginning of the 20th century, and we're involved in all parts of the world. So as a school, we did a study 6 years ago and focused on the idea of developing a more global perspective for our students. So in the future, our world history course will have more of a global perspective. We may even change the title to Global Perspectives. And we have found that students come into high school with pretty good grounding in U.S. history, but we want to make sure that you get enough of the flavor of the 20th century. So the courses will, for 10th graders, will be U.S. history, 20th century to the Korean War. The Korean War began in 1950. And then in 11th grade, you can still take 2 credits of U.S. history, but that'll be Korean War to the present. But you have other options, and you can see those on the screen too. So you guys will be in 11th grade next year, right? So you're going to have a little bit of a transition here, because you had colonial history this year to 1877, right? So for the transition, there will be a course that's kind of a hybrid between what you would have taken under the old scheme to the idea of moving more to the present, covering the 20th century up to the Korean War in the present. So your class will be the one that we transition a little bit on. So since it's such a big change in social studies, I wanted to ask Mr. Nardini to come in and talk a little bit about social studies changes. And we do have a video too to show you what they are. You know, if you want to just show that? Yeah. Department chair for social studies, but she has a class right now, so she asked Mr. Nardini to come in and talk to you a little bit about the courses for next year.
Yeah, so that was courtesy of Mrs. Felke. She put that all together just to show a lot of the changes that we made in the department, the new courses that we're offering, and the whole idea is to kind of give you more options in terms of the courses that you can take, rather than just kind of keep you in the kind of straight through system. So the big 2 new classes that we have are the Hamilton class, which is Mrs. Felke's class. It's Hamilton, the man, myth, legend, musical. Along with the genocide classes being offered by Ms. Steinmetz, that's organized on kind of 20th century atrocities concerning genocide and kind of the mass exterminations of various groups of people. So those are going to be offered next year, along with the AP courses, so it's still AP US. I know a lot of you are taking it or in it right now. AP US. There will still be AP Gov as a senior. It's a senior course, or is that juniors too? Along with AP Europe, we're including AP World now, along with the Human Geography class. The idea is to kind of give you an increased level of options in terms of what you're interested in. We've also revamped the U.S. history requirements, as Ms. Rooney had stated. The colonial class is disappearing, and now we're breaking up the U.S. history course 20th century into everything up from the early 20th century until the Korean War and the Korean War to the present. And I think the idea is to, if you're taking either college prep or honors in that kind of 20th century vein, the idea for you is to kind of hybridize that course so that you're getting kind of not just the second half of kind of the Korean War to the present, but you're going to get a little bit of the early 20th century in there too. And that's kind of unique just because to fill in what you would be missing outside of, because of the new course workings. I hit everything there? If there's questions about the courses, come talk to me. You can come talk to Ms. Barron, you can see Mrs. Felke, Ms. McGovern, Mrs. Schools. Again, she teaches AP US, many of you have her now. If there's questions, clarifications, come talk to us. We're excited to be offering new things and hope to see a lot of classes. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
No problem.
Just going to back up a little bit because typically as juniors, many of you will be taking AP US History and that will still be an option for you. I wanted to let you know that the rising sophomores will have that as an option now too. Typically we've had sophomores take AP US History as a 2-credit course, but we're going to open it up more for sophomores, and as long as they have a prerequisite coming out of honors world history, they'll be able to take that. And since you're older, we'll make sure that everybody who wants to take AP US History in next year's junior class gets that and qualifies for it. And then we'll work with the sophomores to open that up a little bit more with the idea, again, of spreading out the AP. So now picture a sophomore taking AP US History, and then they have room for other courses in junior year and on in the senior year, so they don't have to pile on as many AP courses in senior year if they've already taken English as a sophomore. AP World History will be available for 10th graders and 11th graders. And Human Geography is available next year as college prep and honors, with the idea that that may become an AP course in the future. We're going to introduce it as a college prep and honors course. And then I think Mr. Nardini touched on the rest of the options that are up on the screen there. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned everything about AP US History. And I think we covered this. And these are typical electives that seniors would have available. The Genocide and History course, Human Geography, and the Hamilton course are all new. The Global Interdependence course and American Social History courses will no longer be offered. So there's a lot new in social studies, and so now we're going to move on to that. Are you ready? So many of you have already taken 3 credits in math, because remember our goal is to have students get to Algebra 2 by sophomore year. Maybe not all of you, but most of you have taken Algebra 2 by now. And then you have a couple options for math courses. And typically students will go into pre-calculus as a 4th course. We require 3 courses, but a lot of colleges like 4 credits in math, so pre-calculus is a good option. For those of you who are thinking about not going the pre-calculus route, trigonometry and elementary functions is a good option for you, and it covers some of the material that will help prepare you for the SATs and ACTs. This is actually a course that we introduced last year, but we introduced it at the last minute, even after the program of study came out. So this year, we're talking about it now, and your math teacher will be best suited to recommend either pre-calc or trigonometry and elementary functions for you. And like I said, it's a way to get a 4th math credit in preparation for college. And then this is for seniors, so a lot of times if you take pre-calc in junior year, you can take calculus or even AP calculus If you want to take another math class in senior year and it's not calculus, you can take the 2 half-credit courses, Intro to Stat or Discrete Math. So those of you who are not interested in pursuing the calculus route, that's another option for you, those 2 half-credit courses combined. And then these are the AP courses. AP Calc AP is 1 credit, and then you combine that with AP Calc BC. And AP Statistics is yet another good offering for math, which you really need algebra. You don't need calculus to get into that. But if you like math, it's a great possibility to have another math course for you. We also offer accounting and personal finance that are technically taught by Mr. McLeod, who's in the business department, but we give it a math number. Accounting, we're now going to offer in alternate years, so it won't be available next year, but it'll be available the following year. Personal finance is an option. For science, you'll all be taking biology in junior year, but this year we are now moving AP Biology to juniors who qualify for it, with the idea that it will make it possible for students to take AP Biology in junior year and then other high-level science courses in senior year. It's going to be a challenge because as you were coming in, I realized that this is the big class. You have 140 some students, which is larger than the current junior class. So we may need a 2-year transition time before everybody is able to get into AP Biology. So the current juniors who are going to be seniors next year, they'll get first choice. We'll get as many of you into that as possible, and those of you who want it and aren't able to fit it, we'll make sure you get the senior year. So a lot of it depends, as I said at the beginning, a lot of it depends on student requests. So we'll try to figure out how to make that transition, but it's going to be tough fitting everybody in, especially since that's a 2-credit course, so it's a little hard to fit that. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that AP Biology is available next year for you as juniors for the first time. We also, we've been offering AP Physics C Mechanics, and I just have to tell you, the College Board has a funny way of naming courses sometimes. So why they call one AP Physics C and another one AP Physics 1, I don't know. But AP Physics C Mechanics is the course that we've been offering for a long time. But now we're going to have an add-on to that, which is electricity and magnetism. So you can take a 2-credit course, mechanics in first semester and electricity and magnetism in the second semester. We are the only all-girls school in the area to offer E&M. That's what it's called, E&M for short. So it's a nice feather in our cap, and it feels like there are some students here who could handle that particular course. So, AP Physics 1 algebra-based is a course that you don't necessarily have to have calculus ahead of time, and it's replacing our honors physics course. So for those of you who like science, who like physics, but are not taking calculus, it is a good option for you too. And then we still have the honors anatomy and physiology and honors chem 2 courses, which are available for seniors. Other electives in the science department are environmental science, criminalistics and forensics, half-credit course. The team robotics course is available for those members of Firebird to help during the build season. And then independent science research is just what it says. You can work on a science fair type project, or there's a NASA-sponsored research project that you can do on your own. That's for an 8th of credit. Moving into the foreign languages, students are required to take 3 credits in a foreign language, and colleges like to see 3 consecutive years of the same language, at least 3. So if you started out in the second level of Spanish or French or Latin, you still need to take 3 consecutive years of a language. But the advantage is that you may be able to take a 4th level and then take AP as a senior. These are all the different options for our foreign languages, French, Latin, and Spanish at the various levels. Honors courses don't begin until level 3, and APs are for those students who have already taken level 3. Our AP courses are offered in French, Latin, and Spanish, and you should be fluent in the language by that point. The class is conducted completely in French, Latin, or Spanish. By junior year, most of you have fulfilled your one credit fine arts requirement, whether it was design basics, core, or band. If you haven't, we'll make sure that you get that next year. And then really the fine arts department is 3 departments in one. So we'll go through them one at a time. For music, those of you who like to sing are familiar with these options for the instrumental ensemble, the lunch band, honors music theory for those of you who really want to go into it in more depth and then go into that in AP music theory, American musical theater, if you're a fan of Hamilton, if you're a fan of other musicals, so American musical theater is a good option for you, music history, and then those of you who are scholars in either voice, piano, or instrumental will take that course. In the theater, film, and communications sub-department, there's a course called Honors Theater Workshop where students develop and act in their own play and then possibly exchange with other schools and then develop their play. So those of you who like to act, that's a good option for you. We have the Honors Film course. That will be totally a fine arts credit this year. In the past, we were to offer a half credit in fine arts, half credit in social studies. This will be exclusively a fine arts credit now. We have a half credit women in film course, and then the communications and speech 2 course is a good follow-up to the sophomore year speech classes start. In the visual arts, we have some changes. So Design Basics is always the entry-level course for visual arts. We have 3D design, digital art, prints, and posters. In some ways, it's a new course. In some ways, we changed the name of an existing course number. So it used to be called commercial design. In addition to the name changes a little bit, change in focus, so focusing specifically on prints and posters, the things that you do on the computer rather than drawing and painting. Digital photography similarly changed name. It was called Photoshop, but rather than just focusing on the application, we're focusing on creating the art with the camera first and then manipulating it and enhancing it in Photoshop. So a little bit of focus there. And then Art for Social Change is a brand new course that fits well in our mission. The idea, it's not a studio course, so you don't have to draw or paint. So if you're one of these people who like to say, I can only draw stick figures, you can explore art in a way that you can see the impact art has had on culture and how it has helped change the country, the world, and how art has an impact on the way people think about things. So that's a new and exciting course. All 3 of those are half credit courses. Actually, all the courses there are half credit courses except for Design Basics, which is the full credit. And then all these courses are offered in visual arts. They're still available. They've been available for some time. So those of you who like to draw, they all have a prerequisite for Design Basics. Color theory is no longer offered, so you now do need to have Design Basics, but you are not required to take color theory to get into drawing or painting. So it makes it a little easier to get to these other art courses. 3D Design 2 is the follow-up to 3D Design course. And those of you who are art scholars are encouraged to take AP Art History or AP Studio Art and really delve into art in more detail. So, business and technology. Most seniors and some juniors have fulfilled their business and technology requirement. Most of you will take the computer systems and applications course if you haven't already. It's a half credit course, and then there are elective options in several different areas. Multimedia design course, whether it's websites or different online applications, and this is where our other online course is being offered, the Introduction to Java Programming. So programming is a good option for people. It's not for everybody, but you won't know unless you get exposed to it. So Java programming is a good introductory course, and it's all in Canvas, and we'll figure out what quarter is best for all the students who signed up for that, and then Mrs. Toth will just interact with you through Canvas, so you won't have to spend time during the day. It's a good opportunity to try out the online component. And then AP Computer Science Principles, the first year that the College Board offered that 2 years ago, we offered it too as a school. It's going very well. So it's not a programming course, it's more learning about the ins and outs of computers and how they're used in systems and businesses and organizations. And it's very project-oriented, so check that one out too. And then the television production course is a half-credit course that produces the videos that we use in advisory every so often. For the business side of business and technology, we are offering the personal finance course. Accounting will not be offered next year, as I mentioned, but it will be offered the following year. And then we have the introduction to business marketing course and 2 new courses, sports and entertainment marketing. We have credit course with the focus on those 2 industries. And then exploring entrepreneurship, the idea of starting your own business, figuring out from the ground up. So what does it take to be an entrepreneur? Starting out on your own. So there's some exciting new opportunities in the business and technology department too. For you, currently as sophomores, you had your phys ed and health requirements in freshman and sophomore year. Moving into junior and senior year, you'll have options to take either independent gym or sports gym. If you are a member of a Mount team, you will get your PE credits through that team. If you're a member of a team somewhere else, you can get signatures on an independent form and get credit for that. Or if you take dance lessons, play on the CYO basketball team, and then that's the way you get your PE credits in junior and senior year. We do have some electives. Mostly seniors take these, but they are available for you. Self-defense and fitness. These run for 1 quarter every other day. So anatomy of yoga, first aid and CPR. Since there's not a real aerobic component of first aid and CPR, that does not count for your PE credit. But these other courses do. So that's all of our departments. As you absorb all this information, and it will be available online on our website too, you want to keep a number of things in mind. And the first one is balance. What else do you have besides academics? And notice the way I said it. I said after academics. Because academics comes first. What you're doing outside of school has to be fit around going to school and doing your homework. So make sure you take a look carefully and talk it over with your parents and with your guidance counselor about, we want you to challenge yourself, but don't put too much on your plate when you have all those other things going on too. Make sure that the academic rigor is there. When it comes to scheduling, full credit courses are best, especially in what you want to focus on, and then half credit electives will fill in openings. And there's no single answer for college admission. There's no magic formula when you ask your counselor, what courses should I take to get into this college? It all depends on the full package. So focusing on things that you're strong at while challenging yourself in areas that you're not as strong at is a good way to go when you're making up your roster. So the next steps are for you to sit down with your parents and talk about what a fascinating meeting you had this morning with me. Talk about some of the new courses, talk about what you're going to be thinking about in senior year, and then the departments will begin discussing in class all the different courses, and the teachers that you have in class know best what you're ready for next year. If it was a class that you had in the first semester or last year, you might want to go back and talk to those teachers if you have questions. But they'll begin discussing it in class and in advisory, so feel free to ask as many questions as possible. And you will begin to meet with your guidance counselors. They'll start meeting with the current juniors at the end of next week or even the week after, and then you and then the current freshmen. So you do want to look at the big picture, look at the future, where do you want to be in college? Not that you have to decide right now, but keep that in mind as you go along. It's a good idea. So the first point there is ask questions. You can start with me. I'm not as readily available as your teachers and guidance counselors, but feel free to stop in when you can, and be ready to commit to your decisions, because staffing and sections are based on your decisions, and we don't want to run out of steak and end up with all that fish rotting in the back. That was a metaphor for the course selection process. Did you get that?
Yes.
We have time for a few questions, maybe not all of your questions. We can get started with a couple questions, and then I'm going to send you back to the second block, because we're all anxious to learn more information today, right? Don't disagree with that one. Yes?
How does the online classes work? Do they do it in school or?
There will be times, you might have a study hall next year where you can do it in school, or, you're waiting for a ride after school and you can do it then. But for the most part, it'll be at home, and you can do it whenever you have time here and there. So it will not be scheduled as part of your day. So it'll just be fitting it in where you can. So you're going to want to take that into account. If you're taking 8 credits during the day, and then you add on this half-credit online Java programming course, are you going to have enough time to do that too? So maybe you want a study hall in there and try to make room for that. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
So the idea with online courses is to give you flexibility. So if you play field hockey in the fall, you don't have time to finish the Java programming course in the fall, but you might have more time in the spring. So that's the idea, is to provide that kind of flexibility. Yes?
Would you be able to take AP Government without taking the 1877 to present for history?
AP Government is usually requires U.S. history, and so you guys are having a transition period. So AP Government is generally reserved for seniors, and I think we'll stick to that. So you'll have to have at least one of the U.S. history courses, but not necessarily 1877, because you have to go to a different flavor of that course, right? So yes, you will have to have another U.S. history course before you take AP Government. Okay? Yes?
Regarding also the social studies too, so we have to take, are we required to take one present class next year? Or are we taking one that isn't,
So our question was, are you required to take the AP U.S. history course next year, right? The one that's the Korean War. And you are not required, because our new graduation requirements have at least 1 credit in U.S. history, and you all took that this year, right? So those of you who had AP U.S. history this year, you're good. Those of you who had colonial period 1877, you're good. And that's pretty much everybody here. So that's where it opens up the possibility of 1 credit in history. That could be the U.S. history course. You can still do that. Or it could be AP U.S. history, or it could be European history, or European history, or it could be human geography. Yes? Can you take study hall for 1 semester? You need at least 7 credits each year. So that leaves... Excuse me? If you have that one. The study hall just gets placed where it works out in your schedule. I have the computer help me figure it out. So I don't take requests for when study hall will be. It's just, because when I do it, it's really just an empty spot in the schedule, and then I fill in the study hall later. So if you want a study hall, request 7 credits, and then you can't request when that study hall will be, because I have to see it in the courses. I would say, for the most part, that's a decision that you and your parents and your council make, because your parents usually prefer you to go to class 4 blocks a day. And as a dean of studies, I kind of like to see that too. But there are times when you're taking challenging courses and it would make sense to have a study hall. So there are times when that is beneficial to a student. So, but just so that you know, I don't take where you want the study hall into account when it comes to course selection. Yes?
Is Honors Chem 2 available junior year?
Honors Chem 2 is only available to seniors. Okay?
Didn't some take it this year though? Like juniors?
I don't think so. Do we have any Honors Chem 2 students, juniors?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are 13 for this year. There are 13 juniors that took Honors Chem 2 this year. There are 11 in the fall and 2 in this term now.
What I meant to say was there are 13 juniors who took Honors Chem 2 this year. My mistake. So it is available to juniors. Yes.
is there another course offered like in place of Early Theory, or is there like a hybrid
Color theory will be absorbed into the design basics course, and really it already was when you guys took design basics. So the teachers kind of felt like it didn't need to be a separate course. So it's not one that is replacing, but the other offerings that we had offer really set that they're not really a very effective. Yes.
So AP government, studies are only
Yes, AP Gov and AP Psych are only senior courses.
So the Hamilton course, is that just how that's what is that? Like this course,
Hamilton is a college prep half credit course, and that'll be available to students. I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then I'm going to send you back to class, but, there'll be more time. That's a good question. She asked, can you push design basics to senior year? And you can. The risk is that on a required course like that, you have to get your fine arts credit in. So by senior year, you don't have any more time after that. So we have to give you design basics. So that could mean that you don't get another elective that you want. So it's better to get the required courses completed in 9th, 10th, or 11th grade so that you don't, have to take them the senior year. So it's a trade-off. I always try to make sure that students know that because, when we're sitting down working out the senior schedules, I can't say, no, you can't take design basics. You get the way. So I strongly encourage you to take that and all your other required courses to go in your career as possible. And I will also say, I think this is probably more for the current juniors, but a lot of times juniors, the students will get into senior year and they'll say, I never had a problem with my roster before. And that's because most of the problems with rosters are with seniors because they have the most choices. Their schedules are the hardest to come up with. So it may be that, your roster is fine, freshman, sophomore, even junior year, and all of a sudden they have to spend time in my office trying to work out their schedule. But that's pretty common. That happens most of the seniors. Most of my time in spring and summer is spent with seniors. One more question. Yes.
So you said that in the beginning that there were like 2 open spots that you said that we could fill. Was that what you said in the beginning?
Right.
Are those for elective courses?
Yes.
Okay, so those are just for like the art courses and like all the other new courses that you talked about?
Correct.
Okay. I
Yeah.
wanted to, yeah.
You have a little bit more flexibility in junior year than you did freshman and sophomore year, but not nearly as much as you will senior year, because if you think about it, most of our courses require either 3 or 4 credits, so by the time you're a junior, that's your 3rd year, so you fulfill most of them, except for theology. So those of you who still have questions, feel free to come up and talk to me, but for the rest of you, I'm going to send you back to class. Thank you.